About to start. We're starting at 6 to make sure that everybody's with us. I think we are on. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Let's get started with this Shabbos with Enigun. diggy daggy daggy daggy.
Hi diggy daggy daggy daggy.
Hi diggy die.
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 Hi.
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 Hi. Hey hey.
Hi diggy daggy 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 daggy. Hi diggy daggy 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 daggy. Hi diggy daggy 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 daggy. Hi diggy daggy 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 daggy.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shabbos.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. What a great thing is to start Shabbat in community, to share Shabbat together. Give me 1 second. Here we go. To share Shabbat in community, to share Shabbat with each other. We invite you to prepare your Shabbos candles, to prepare your Kiddush cup, as we will try to transform your living rooms or wherever you're sitting in this space into a sacred space. This Shabbat, we read Parashat Naso, the Shabbat that reminds us that we are carriers, are mediums for blessings, and that sometimes the only thing that we need to do is to let the shine coming through our faces shine toward each other, and in that encounter, seek for peace, for wholeness, seek for the possibility to see each other's faces, to see the beauty in each other, and also trying to see the beauty in our lives, in our routines, is that we commence this Shabbat on page 120, lighting Shabbat candles. Please join us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
We'll now turn our Siurim to page 130 for Lechu Nera Nera.
Lechu nera nera l'Adonai, nari al-tzur yishenu nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot, nari alo nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot, nari alo. Shiru l'Adonai shechadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai baruchu shemo, basro miyom leyom yeshuato, sabru b'goyim kavodo bechol ha'amim niflotav. Yalai, 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 yalai,
מלאך תגל הארץ, יזמחו יהים רבים. אור צרו על הצדיק ולשללב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים באדוני, בהודו לשכל קודשו. In the search of light, in the search for internal light, is that we come to welcome Shabbat. מזמור שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה. Looking for the signs, for the beauty, for the wonders that we have in our lives, is that we try to enter this beautiful day, is that we try to allow each one of these psalms to become a step in a stairway as we try to lift up ourselves, try to elevate ourselves and enter the experience that Shabbat invites us to have. Samru Adonai, we also, as we sing, we cut out, we let go of the things that we shouldn't carry into Shabbat. So I invite you to take a moment and think of something that you might need to put aside, something that doesn't need to be carried. We will be talking today in Parashat Naso. Lasset means to carry. We'll be talking about this idea of carrying things. But as we enter Shabbat, I invite you to think of something that you might be carrying, something that might be very, very heavy, and it shouldn't be with you during Shabbos. You can pick it up in 25 hours. For now, try to recognize it, its importance, its koved, its mishkal, its weight, and also its kabod, the honor that it deserves, and put it aside as we fully dedicate ourselves to celebrate this encounter with the divine. We turn our Siddurim to page 134.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzot rot v'kol shofar. Harihu לפני המלך אדוני, ירום היום ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה, הידיים בהרות, עמך וכף
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. And as we acknowledge God's sacredness, we also think about the sacredness of our own existence. Shabbat invites us to observe the miracle of our life and to understand our own lives as a one-time opportunity to understand the existence of our own souls as the one of an eternal fire that shines from the very moment of the creation throughout the ages and to this moment in which we are, this moment that invites us not only to recognize the sacredness of the creation around us, but also to acknowledge and celebrate the sacredness of our own existence. And on page 136 for Miss Morle David.
מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני בן אלי. מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני כבוד בעוז. מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני בן אלי. מזמור לדוד, הב לאדוני כבוד בעוז. הב לאדוני כבוד בעוז. הב לאדוני כבוד שמו. הב לאדוני כבוד בעוז. הב לאדוני כבוד שמו. היי, 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 לבוא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אדוני יוס, לבוא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. היי, 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 אדוני יוס, לבוא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אדוני יוס, לבוא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אדוני יוס לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך. May God bless us with its peace. And thinking of that peace, trying to find that peace within our hearts, is that we come to welcome Shabbat, the Shabbos bride, trying to fall in love once again with the wonders, with the beautiful things we have in our lives, in our routines. Every Shabbat we are invited to discover anew the signs, the wonders that we have in our world. As we turn our Siurim to page 138, I invite you to think of a wonder, a beauty, a sign that belongs to the realm of your world. To visualize that for a moment. I invite you to think about something that you particularly care about in your life. And to think for a moment about the reason of your love to that thing, to that union, to that person. Recognizing the sacredness of this time is that we turn our Siurim to page 138 for Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה ינננה 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 בשבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה ינננה ינננה ינננה
שבת נקבלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שתדברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקהלני, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי, אך יחסו אני איימי, ונבנתה הרהלתי לה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונך עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה, לך דורי לקראת כלה, בשבת נקבלה.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. So good to welcome Shabbat together, and so good to recognize the faces of those joining us, the faces of those standing here. Good Shabbos, everyone here. Good to see the faces of those emerging in Zoom, and also the faces of those that are returning from travels. Daphne, it's good to see you. And I see Jill there, and Caroline. Barbara, am I seeing your daughter? What a joy. What a joy. So beautiful. So glad to see all the faces. I see Esther, and the camera is a bit far today, so kind of, and I started to see, but I see Phyllis, and Marty, and Laila, and Rabbi Miriam, and Ken, and Mitch, and Johnny, and Susan, and Gabriel. Hope not missing many, but each one of you, every single one of you, what a joy to see you, what a joy to share Shabbat together, and what a joy is to sing together. We are turning our Sidurim to page 140, Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
מעשיך מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. Page 144, חצי קדיש, we transition into מעריב של שבת.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברך ירותי ויבליך מלכותי, וחייכון ובימיכון וחיי תכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו
אמן.
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה,
יתברך
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה ויכול לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בהלמה אמרו
Amen. We turn our Siurim to page 146 for Baruch. Yadalai, dai, dai, dalai. Yadalai, dai, dai, dalai. Yadalai, dai, dai. Ai, dalai. Yadalai, dai, dai, dalai. Yadalai, dai, dai, dalai. Yadalai, dai, dai. Baruch Adonai המבורך לעולם ועד. היי ידאי די ידאי ידאי די די דאי ידאי די די דאי ידאי די די. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzebaot is your name. Ever living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening Baruch Ata Adonai, Am'arif Aravim. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Everlasting love you offer your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Day and night we will reflect in that Torah that was given to us, that we have taken, for your precepts are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Beloved God, never remove your love from us. praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Oev Amo Israel. We'll now turn our study to page 152 for the Shema. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
We continue on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. באמונה כל סוד וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל אל עמו. We continue with the silent reading of page 156. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude and they accept your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Who is like you, O God? Mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai. We are on page 158.
וכמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אליו, נורא תהילות אוסף אליו, היי מלכותך אהובה לך. בוקר יום לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי עלו ואמרו, מלכותך רבה לך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה ענו ואמרו, אוי זה לי ענו ואמרו.
Does it say, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own? Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch ata Adonai, Ge'al Israel.
Amen.
Let's return our Siurim to page 160. We think about shelters of protection. The shelters that come, actually not from the outside world, but actually those shelters that we build that come from within our hearts, from the ability to find serenity, peace, wholeness.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך
ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people in Israel, and over the city of Shalom, the holy city of Jerusalem. For the Amidah, we say, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We ask to find the covenant of our own generation, the connection of our time with Shabbat. We ask to remember Shabbat, to connect with sacred time and with each other. ביום השביעי, שבת בנפש. So we recognize that on the seventh day there is an additional layer of soul, an additional soul that accompanies us, each one of us, and the entire world. We ask for access to that place. We ask for connection. Let's return our Siurim to page 164 for Tfilat Amidah. Adonai,
Adonai,
שפתי תפתח
שפתי תפתח
ופי יגיד
ופי יגיד
תהילתך. תהילתך Adonai, Adonai, open up my lips,
Open my lips,
that my mouth
that my mouth
may declare your praise. Take a moment for silent prayer, for תפילת עמידה. תגבור לא למדרים לכם, מדהים אותנו לאשר. רצון אמרי פי וגיון לבי לפניך, אדוני, צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. עושה שלום במרומיו, ועושה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן. May one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel, and let us say amen. We'll now turn our theory to page 371 as we think of all those that are dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls. We think of those dealing with addictions. We think of those carrying grief. We think of those dealing with COVID in a week in which we have several LTV members recovering from this terrible illness. We pray for their recovery as we turn our Siurim to page 371 for Mishaberach. of them רפואה שלמה והחלמה מהירה, a complete and a fast recovery. And let us say,
Amen.
Shabbos. You see, so it's a weird thing. Okay. Can you hear me? No. I don't have a microphone now. Can you hear me now? No. Okay. Now you can hear me? Okay, if you can hear me, so we're going to share the Bar Torah. But just this time. Good to see you, everyone. So, Parashat Naso is the longest Torah portion in the entire Torah. How many verses? Who say 166? You were right. It's a very long Torah portion. Now, even though it extends over 166 verses, today I want to explore with you only one of them. But behind that one verse hides a magnificent idea. Magnificent idea. The Torah is speaking about objects that can be carried with carts. So, it's saying this object can be carried, this object can be carried with a cart. But then it comes to the Mishkan, specifically to the ark. And regarding the ark, the Pasuk says, ולבני קהת לא נתן עגלה, cart, כי עבודת הקודש עליהם בכתף יישאו. But to the Kohathites, he did not give any cart. It's not there, but that's what he's referring to. Since theirs was the service of the most sacred objects. Their work was supposed to be done by shoulder. וישאו על כתפיהם. They will lift it up. Lasset is to lift up. We'll talk about that in a moment. Over their shoulders. Can you hear me well? We're good? Okay. Now, thinking about carrying things, the work of carrying things, I recall the story that once, a couple of years ago, I shared with you about the two Zen Buddhist monks who were walking through the forest on their way back to the monastery. When they got to the river, they saw a woman crouched down, crying by the shore. She was young and attractive. "What's the matter?" the older monk asked her. "My mother is dying. She's alone at home on the other side of the river, and I can't get across. I try, but the current pulls me, and I will never be able to reach the other side without help. I thought I would never see her alive again." She went on, "But now that you have appeared, one of the two of you could help me get across." "I wish we could," the younger monk lamented. "But the only way to help you would be to carry you across the river, and our vows of chastity prohibit us from having any contact with the opposite sex. It is forbidden. I am sorry." "I am sorry too," said the woman, who kept crying. The older monk knelt down, bowed his head, and said, "Climb on." The woman couldn't believe it, but she quickly gathered up her bag of clothes and straddled the monk's shoulders. With great difficulty, the older monk forded the river, followed by the younger one. When they reached the other side, the woman climbed down and approached the older monk, intended to kiss his hands. "That's all right, it's all right," said the old man, pulling his hands away. "You shall be on your way." The woman bowed in a show of gratitude and humility, picked up her clothes, and ran down the road, heading to town. The monks, without saying a word, continued on their way to the monastery. They still had 10 hours of journey left. A short while before they arrived back, the younger monk said to the older one, "Master, you know better than I about our vow of abstinence. Still, you carried that woman on your shoulders across the whole width of the river." "I carried her across the river. That's true," he said. "But what is it that you did that you are still carrying her weight on your back?" Parashat Naso and this idea around the Levites carrying upon their shoulders is there in the intersection between things that are very, very important, and we want to have them close to our hearts, to our bodies, to our spirits, but at the same time, they are overwhelming. They challenge us. While it is a positive commandment to carry the Mishkan upon our shoulders, we see in the book of Samuel a different situation when finally the Mishkan, the ark, was to be moved from Shiloh to Jerusalem. We read, they loaded the ark of God onto a new cart and conveyed it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill, and Abinadab's sons Uzzah and Ahio guided the new cart. So we hear that David decides to move the ark, to move the Mishkan in a cart, despite the fact that Torah says, don't do it. So, following this story in the book of Samuel, the Talmud expands on God's rebuke to David. Masechet Sotah, page 35a, the Holy One, blessed be He, said to him, matters of Torah are so difficult and demanding that it is written, will you set your eyes upon it? It's gone. Proverbs 23:5. One whose eyes stray from the Torah, even for a moment, will forget it. And you call them songs? We'll talk about the songs in a moment. For this reason, I will cause you to stumble, which is what happened to these two characters that were carrying the ark in a cart, in a matter that even school children know, as it is written with regard of the wagons brought to the tabernacle. And the descendants of the Kohat he did not give, because the service of the holy things belonged to them. He did not give carts to them. They carry them upon their shoulders. And although the ark clearly must be carried on people's shoulders, David earned and brought it in a wagon. The Talmud is trying to explain that there are things that cannot be put on wheels and let go. They cannot be driven in automatic pilot. There are things they didn't know about Tesla, right? The rabbis say there are things, essential things, that because of their importance require us to physically experience their weight. Because of their importance, we want to experience their weight. Now, how do you say weight in Hebrew? One of the words is koved. Koved. And it shares its root with the word kabod, which means honor, dedication, devotion. The central and sacred components of our lives need to be lifted upon our shoulders. Now, an interesting thing in Arachin 11, also in the Talmud refers to this same idea, to the same pasuk, but slightly from a different perspective. And the rabbi cites a derivation for the requirement for the Levites to accompany the temple offerings with song from here. The Levites were supposed to accompany the temple offerings in song. And the word that we're exploring here is the word laset, to lift up. To lift up, that can be also to sing. But unto the sons of Kohath, he gave none. Again, talking about the cards, because the service of the holy things belonged to them. They bore them Iseu upon their shoulders, as we read in this Torah portion, Numbers 7:9, by inference from that which is stated upon their shoulders. Don't I know, say the rabbis, that they bore them? Why must the verse state Iseu? Why there is a repetition here? Iseu al ktefeim, laset, to lift up, and in their shoulders. Say the rabbis, the term yaseu is not stated here in its meaning of they bore them, but rather as an expression of song. And similarly, the verse states, take up, seu, the melody, and sound timbrel. And another verse states, they lift up, isu, their voice, they sing for joy. What the rabbis are saying is that there are two things happening. One is that they are placing the tabernacle upon their shoulders, but the other one is that they are actually singing, that they are supposed to be singing. Now, the word laset also means to lift up. We read that word also in which context in this Torah portion? Isa Adonai panav elecha. We say that in the priestly benediction, that God will lift up its face upon us or toward us. I want to circle back around this idea of the things that seem to be too heavy in our world, the things that are overwhelming to us, and we try to run away from them because they seem to be unbearable, things that we try to find our way around them. And so we try to build some technology or some app or something to prevent us from the work of carrying them upon our shoulder. I think that the repetition of the word tells us about this beautiful idea that it's not that the Levites are only carrying the ark. The work of carrying the ark is also carrying them throughout their journeys. I think that the beautiful idea that the rabbis and Torah are trying to share with us is that are actually those things that seem to be complicated, difficult, heavy, that we imagine for them to be unbearable, that if we decide to carry them, to put them upon our shoulders, we might realize that we are not only carrying, but we are also being carried. That we are also Nasaim, that we are being lifted up. And with that idea, I want to invite you to think about some challenge that you are dealing with in your life. Something that might feel heavy, and you are trying to avoid. I want to invite you to think about what does it mean to put your shoulder and carry. What it would be like the song that you sing if you give a try to it. And maybe if you imagine that for a moment, you realize that you are being carried. So once again, let's make sure that instead of running away, we run toward, and that we put our shoulders. Shabbat Shalom. Continue our service on page 588 with Be'ashebota. Be'ashebota
והשבותה
אל לבביך
אל לבביך
כי אדוני
כי אדוני
הוא האלוהים
הוא האלוהים
והשבותה
והשבותה
אל לבביך
אל לבביך
כי אדוני
כי אדוני
הוא האלוהים
הוא האלוהים נאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We'll now turn our study to page 598 as we take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. We think of those during the cycle of the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva, those during the cycle of the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, and those during the cycle of the first year of mourning. We have some names coming through Zoom. We, of course, also acknowledge those that are acknowledging a yortzeit this week, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year in years past.
First year of mourning for Randy Sostock.
Now you can support our fellows by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts on page 598 for קדיש אבלים, מורנרס קדש. יתגדל ויתקדש שם הרבה,
Amen.
בעלמה תברך ילותה וימליך מלכותה. בחייכון וביומכון, בחיי כל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עלמיה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח, ביתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה.
בריחו.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, בחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
May the memories of your dear ones be always a blessing in your life. יהיה זכרם ברוך. So we are about to do Kiddush, and before we do so, just a few announcements. Tomorrow we will be gathering for Torah study at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Shacharit Shel Shabbat, and we will be celebrating 7 years of love, and also we call it farewell to Rabbi Nico, at 6:30 p.m. So if you'd like to join us, we'd love to see you. 4:30 p.m. No, I made it wrong. Sorry, friends. Let's say it again. It's going to happen at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. I apologize. I need to be here at 4:30. That was a mistake. 5 p.m. We'll have a service, a Mincha service and a Mariv service, and we will be sharing blessings and songs. That's going to be happening at 6:30 p.m. So we invite our friends from afar that are virtually connecting with us to be present here in Zoom. We'd love to see you. And I think we are going to have a wonderful evening. On the week after that, we will be celebrating the Bar Mitzvah of Samuel Science, and a week after that, on the 25th, Sydney and Josh Applebaum will be coming up to the Torah. So these are a few wonderful weeks for our congregation. We encourage you to join us in celebration in every possible occasion. And with that said, we will now turn our student to page 122 for Kiddush. בערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים בארץ בכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי וחברותיי, you can say לחי wherever you are. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
Chaim, we make sure that we conclude our service singing together, praying together for peace, for the peace that emerges from within and the peace that we create together. If you have a Siddur, you can find Shalom Rav on page 178.
Shalom Rav, על ישראל עמך, שים לעולם. שלום רב, על ישראל עמך, שים
כי אתה הוא מלך אדון
לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, שים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, שים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, שים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, שים לעולם.
We look at our creations. We look at the beauty of those around us that we love. We look at our children as we say, Yasimchem Elohim, Kefraim Bekemmenashe, Yasimchem Elohim, Kesara Rivka Rachel Velea. May God inspire you to be like the loving fathers and mothers of the people of Israel. Yevrechem Adonai Beish Merechem. May God bless you and protect you. Yair Adonai Panav Elechem Bichunekem. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. Isa Adonai Panav Elechem. May God lift up its light toward you. And may God bless you with its most beautiful gift, the gift of wholeness, the gift of integrity, the gift of internal peace, of Shalom. Yasem lecha Shalom, Shalom. Adonai os le'amav yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Shabbat Shalom everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom rab al Yisrael amcha, sim leolam.
Shalom rab al Yisrael amcha,
sim leolam.
Shalom rab al Yisrael amcha, sim leolam. Shalom rab al Yisrael amcha,